Hey, this is Bruce Boudreau, and you're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mac, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 189 of Empty Betters. I am your host, Harrison Scholes. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Mr. Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
Happy Turkey Week, gentlemen. It's time to strap on a feed bag this week. This is what this holiday is all about. Honestly, if I could do, this is going to sound really fucked up, but we're going to come in hot for this one because we have a burner of an episode for you guys today. If I could do Thanksgiving with just like no family and me just eating the same amount of food, I think I would like do it, and that would be my perfect day ever.
Throw in the football and a little FanDuel action.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's all you really want in life. I totally get that. Yeah.
I mean, you take out like the annoying probing questions from like, grandparents or relatives or something like that. But like, and the inevitable arguing that's going to happen at some point. But like, I still get to like eat. We just turn the volume down to about 2 instead of 2 million. It would be great.
Oh, I love it. Coming in hot this episode. Mr. Mac Vogel up in Wisconsin. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. I echo what Nick said. I think that's a great idea. Who needs the family? Am I right?
Right.
No, I'm kidding. I'm going back to Baltimore for the holiday for the first time in a couple of years this year. So I'm looking forward to it. And honestly, being a Caps fan all my life, I for some reason when I think of Thanksgiving, I just think of hockey because it seems like my whole life the Caps have had a home game the day before and the day after. And I've been lucky enough to get to go to a lot of those ones over the years. So I'll be there again this year on either side of the holiday. So come find me and let's hang.
Yeah, speaking of, we will all be at the Caps Oilers game on Black Friday in the afternoon. So if you're there, let us know. We will be posted up at section 407. We'll probably be running around the concourse at some point. So come find us, have a beer, say hi, take a picture, do your thing,
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
The whole gang should be a wonderful time. Speaking of wonderful times, I want to give a couple shout outs here. Listeners of the program, Mr. Marty Huff and Mr. Pat Gentry gave me 2 solid recommendations. Both gave me the same one for best cheesesteak in Philly. You got to go to Angelo's Pizzeria. Found out that that's actually a pretty well-known spot there. So they were giving me the good ones. Unbelievable pizza and cheesesteaks, top notch. Probably the best cheesesteak I've ever had. And Mac, I told Nick this before the episode started, and now I'm going to tell you. So last week, a couple listeners had texted me about your comment about Philadelphia cheesesteaks perhaps not being as special as you think they are.
Let's hear it.
So when you said it, I agreed. You cook some meat and some cheese, maybe throw some peppers and onions on the griddle. Yeah, that doesn't seem too hard.
Right.
The part that sold me, this place in particular, I can't speak for the rest of Philly, but Angelo's Pizzeria makes their own bread in-house.
Okay. All right. That's something.
The bread was knockout good, and that's what
I will say, in the photo you sent, I could tell that bread was not messing around. I was like, okay, that's not bread that I could provide. So you know what? That's a fair argument. I'll give you that.
It was good. I get where you're coming from. I still kind of agree, but man, if you're in Philly, go to Angelo's. Cash only. You can't online order. You go in, you get yelled at, you pay, and you leave, and it's amazing. So
those places are always
definitely
the best.
Go do that.
Like if there's a guy,
yeah, for sure. And then
there's a guy being like, "What the fuck do you want?"
Exactly.
That's how you know it's going to be good.
He's tossing the dough as he's talking to me. And
I'm
just like, oh my God.
He's like, how dare you come in and order food from my restaurant? Now, what the fuck do you want?
And I also just want to give a shout out. I can't believe I'm saying this. To the Wells Fargo Center. I had never actually seen a game there. I've played in a game there. Lucky me, obviously, but never watched a game there. That was a ton of fun. Philly fans, you got to respect them. I think I said their team sucks, but they still show up. Joke's on me. They're like second in the Metro.
Yep.
It's a joke. They're actually like kind of good. It sucks.
I saw a stat today from Evil Gritty that said like teams that are second in their division at American Thanksgiving have made the playoffs like 80% of the time or something like that.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh fuck, like
I'm
Yeah.
not here for this. We got to
I
do
was like,
something
that's
about
actually
that.
really bad. I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Yeah, saw them play the Knights on Saturday, 4-3 OT winner. The black uniforms, they're pretty spiffy in person. I'm not gonna lie. I was a big fan of those. So
All right.
Philly, great time. Appreciate it.
I've seen a March Madness basketball game there, a couple of them actually, but never a hockey game. So
The arena's really nice.
Yeah.
I liked it.
what I liked about it when I was there, they have a lot of history and stuff of like there's like a mural of like some old Flyers and some old Sixers players and stuff like that. They do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything with AI on it. I mean, he was one of my favorite basketball players to watch growing up. Guy was an absolute cheat code. So, I mean, hard to hate that.
AI with the braids.
Yep.
Before I toss it off to Mac for the QOTD, Nick mentioned it. We got a burner of an episode and a hell of an interview. We were just joined by Caps and Penguins legend Eric Fehr. Was an absolute blast getting to interview him. Came up with the Caps, young Ovi, young Backstrom, played under some really good teams there. President's Trophy winning team. Then he won the Cup in Pittsburgh in that 15-16 season. Nick even mentioned it in the interview, scored in game 4 of that series to put the Pens up 3-1 against the dog shit Martin Jones Sharks. That was a fun one. That was a real fun interview. So that'll be coming to you shortly. But before we get to that, Mac has our QOTD.
Sure do. It is back and better than ever. I know we've skipped out on this the last couple of weeks, but at work today I thought of a pretty good one. It's in the theme of the holiday week, so let's get to it. All right, boys. I'm asking you a very important question this week, and that question is, which Thanksgiving food staple would be the best goal scorer, best playmaker, best bruiser, and best goalie on an NHL team?
That's a good one.
I'll hit you with some rapid answers.
Okay.
Mashed potatoes, the star of the show, best score.
Really? Okay.
Oh, I disagree.
Really?
I don't know if I agree.
I feel like
I have a different logic for this, so I'm going to save it. But let's hear him out.
Turkey wing is your winger. He's your goal scorer.
I like that logic.
Well, see, maybe my family's weird. Not all. We don't have like turkey. Like, you mean like the leg, or
Like the
hump-
wing that comes off the turkey. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, for some reason they don't have that. We just have like the breast, which is kind of lame.
Okay.
I don't know. Mashed potatoes, in my opinion, if you get them right, I'd say it's the goal scorer. Playmaker, stuffing. You can't have. I feel like you got to have both. Like they kind of go yin and yang.
Okay.
Bruiser.
Dinner roll. Got to be dinner roll.
I could see dinner roll.
I could roll with that. Yeah.
What were the other rolls we're trying to fill up here? Not just the dinner rolls, but the hockey rolls.
We need a tender, and to me, I think between the pipes, it might need to be like that, just canned cranberry sauce, just like he's still in the shape of the can, and he's
Yeah.
you stick him in net,
Like wiggling.
Puck, yeah, he's wiggling, he's wobbling. Puck gets shot at him, it's just in him. It just he absorbs that shit.
Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to say about cranberry is maybe if it's not the canned one, if it's like an actual, like you got the kind of like berries and it's a little more like liquidy, like you spoon it out. Maybe he's the playmaker because he kind of can go on anything. He can play with anyone. He's like, I was thinking of that, like that logic.
So
like
that logic, Gravy could too, because
right.
you could just dump him all over everyone.
All of it.
He's
a utility
dishing the
guy.
green beans, he's dishing the roll, he's dishing the potatoes.
Absolutely.
I could get on that wagon. I'll follow Mac with the bruiser and the goalie. I'll go roll and then cranberry, and then my goal score, I'm going to go mashed potatoes. Playmaker, I'm going to go stuffing.
Nice.
Okay. Nick, do you have a final lineup here?
I'm pretty solid with what Harry said, except I'm sticking with chicken wing for goal scorer.
Chicken wing. Okay.
Or turkey wing, sorry.
Are we forgetting anybody key here? I guess that's my only remaining question here. Is there anyone getting cut? Like, just
do you count desserts like pumpkin pie?
I was gonna say, are we rolling desserts in here too?
I didn't even think about it. They might have to have their own like situation going on. Like,
can I ask a separate question? Am I way off here with mashed potatoes?
No, I mean,
not way off.
It depends how you're thinking about this, because I was thinking from like a physical standpoint, like with the like the
attributes,
right, but you make a good point. I would agree. Like mashed potatoes with gravy is maybe my favorite part of the meal. And it's like
Right.
kind of the star of the show in that way. Like, so maybe he's the superstar. Yeah. I mean, that's why it's an abstract question. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you want to think about it?
What's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
I might go with the potatoes.
It's really hard to
Well.
beat good mashed potatoes and gravy. I also am a big time turkey slut. So
True.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong. That's what we're all here for, right?
I need the goal scores as your final. Who are you going with?
Who my goal scorer is?
Sticking with the wing.
You're going wing.
Yeah.
You're sticking with mashed potatoes? I'm gonna go with this is hard.
I wish you people could see Max stress on his face.
This is my own question because I was gonna say
so
stuffing,
funny.
but then I realized if anything, stuffing might be the goalie because he's gonna like stuff you, and
Right.
he's like full of like stuff.
That or he's like the guy jamming up the crease and like
right.
cleaning
He's
up
like
the
the
garbage.
shutdown
Yeah.
defender, maybe.
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
Or like okay, so but the goal
Like a Mark
scorer.
Mathot.
There you go.
I mean, the goal scorer could even be like, you know what? Maybe it is like green bean. Maybe it's like string bean because he's just like real like lanky and he's
got the reach like Tage Thompson.
Got the reach exactly.
Like Lindros or Mario.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of that. I'll go with green bean as the goal scorer.
It's a solid pick. Well, we just kind of mentioned Mario and Lindros. You might want to remember those two names for this episode that is coming right at you, featuring Eric Fehr. Before we get to that, just a reminder that this interview with Eric Fehr is brought to you by Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They've got a great selection of UV shirts and hoodies and hats. It is Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh Brackish Life. I honestly do not know if they're having any Black Friday deals. Maybe check their website, www.brackish.life. Obviously, you can check that out. And we are going to now go to the Eric Fehr interview. I won't delay any longer. We're going to toss it off to Eric Fehr right now.
All right. It's now my pleasure to welcome onto the Empty Betters podcast, Eric Fehr. How's it going? Thanks for joining us today.
Going really well. Thanks for having me on here, guys.
So we'll start this out the same way we start all our interviews. We always like to ask guys first question, kind of your hockey origin story. So like your earliest hockey memory and kind of what really sparked your interest in the sport at a young age.
My first hockey memories were playing on my pond in my backyard of my farm out here in Winkler, Manitoba, playing with my brothers, just having a good time. A couple of my buddies would come over. We'd get dressed in the shack. We'd walk over to the ice and just play some pond hockey. So pretty cool first memories. That was long before I started minor hockey and really got into it. But that was my first time skating. It was on my own pond.
Who was like your guy growing up? Was there anyone you like really wanted to be or modeled your game after at all?
Growing up, I liked Eric Lindros and Mario Lemieux. So
pretty good.
Yeah, some pretty good players. Lindros obviously more physical, good goal scorer, and then Lemieux. You don't really have to go into that one too much. Just the unbelievable hands and the goal scoring on that guy. It was just fun to watch and a player that I emulated growing up.
So fast forward then to like obviously kind of late 90s, early 2000s. That's kind of when your pro hockey journey got started. I guess like what are some of the early memories from those times? And I guess when did you maybe have an inkling that you might be able to do this full time as a professional?
Probably when I played junior hockey. My first couple of years weren't the best. I was scoring a little bit, but not as much as I was used to. And then my 18-year-old year, I scored a ton and there was some teams interested. So obviously when I got drafted in the first round of Washington, you think, hey, there's a chance here that I could actually make it to the NHL, and just kept pushing from there. I really saw that as a starting line for me and not a finish line where, I'm that close. I got to step on the gas a little bit more and try to make that push to the NHL. And luckily I was able to do that for a number of years.
Do you have a story from your draft? I mean, you're part of that infamous first round in 2003, arguably the greatest draft in NHL history. Do you have any stories from your draft day?
Oh, well, it's an interesting one because I didn't really know much about the Washington Capitals. And when the Washington Capitals drafted me, that was like you grow up in Canada, you're picturing your draft day, how it's gonna go, like, oh, I'm gonna go to some Canadian team or I'm gonna go to, pick your team. I don't think I ever once envisioned myself going to the Washington Capitals. And I had to educate myself a little bit on the team after I got drafted. But it was really special, and it's definitely a day I'll never forget. You work your whole career towards that day, and be able to go in the first round, go on stage, and they're talking about decentralizing the draft and getting the guys off the stage. Like, for the guys that work their whole life to get drafted in that first round, like there's nothing better than getting up on stage and being there with your family and friends. It's unfortunate if they do that for the guys that could be there.
Where was the draft that year?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, wow.
So 20 years later, they had it again in Nashville. So that was kind of cool.
That's crazy. Wow.
Not to hate myself or anything.
Let's talk a little bit about your experience with the Wheat Kings. I mean, you had an unreal run with that team. What was that experience like for you?
Brandon was awesome. I tell the junior players that I coach these days, I tell them, you'll make a lot of friends along the way. You'll play pro or you'll go to college or whatever, but you'll never forget your junior teammates. There's just something about going to the rink and you all have no idea what you're doing and you all have nothing to do after practice and you just kind of get together and it's really the last time you have no responsibility and you just kind of hang out together and just play hockey. So I tell these guys to enjoy it as much as they can, and for me, it's some of the guys that I keep in touch with the most are my junior teammates.
Well, two of your junior teammates, we did some research. They were Dustin Byfuglien and Jordan Tootoo. So that had to be quite an experience. What were those guys like at that age?
Yeah, we had some really entertaining teams when I was in Brandon there. At one point, we set up a penalty kill forecheck so Tootoo could run somebody into the fifth row. And it was, we had a little choo-choo going on in the background, for the fans. And it was just a bit of a circus act. And then not to mention we had Ryan Reeves there at one point, Dustin Byfuglien. We had a lot of guys that the fans paid a lot of money to see. So it was definitely entertaining.
Let's fast forward a little bit to your Caps and Bears career. Obviously, you come in right around that same time. Where the Caps started to get younger and better. Obviously, young Ovechkin at the time kind of gives a resurgence to the franchise. What was your experience in Hershey and the Caps like early on in your career?
Well, I love playing in Hershey. Obviously, stepping out of junior, getting into the American League, it still has a little bit of a junior feel. We had a very young team at the start, a lot of guys my age that I could hang out with, and it's always fun when you have a good team. You don't want to go to the rink when you're going to lose every day, and we won a lot of games, and obviously we went on to win the Calder Cup my first year there. It's so much fun when you're winning, and it's so much fun when you're with your buddies. So my experience in Hershey was awesome.
So many of those guys on the Bears ended up being just, like you, just fan favorites in DC. I mean, I think Brooksy was on that team, Alsner, Carlson was there for a bit, Greeny. What were some of those guys like to play with?
It was awesome because we lived in the same neighborhood in Hershey. Obviously, Hershey isn't very big, so we all got our houses, and it was our first time kind of away from home. So we're all kind of living together, and it felt a little bit like junior, where we were still able to hang around each other quite a bit. And we just went to the rink for practice, and after that, we just got to spend time together. So we spent a lot of hours together and kind of grew up together there for a couple of years, and that was part of the best days for me and why it was fun going up to Washington in the next couple of years, because we knew these guys so well. It was a locker room that was really tight.
You ever go next door and ride the roller coasters?
Yeah, we went to Hershey Park a lot. They let us through the back door a few times, and
That's awesome.
got to ride all the rides, and we go to the chocolate factory and get a bunch of chocolate. They let us on the golf course there. I mean, when you play for the Hershey Bears, like that's the thing going on in Hershey. Like
Oh yeah.
that's the big ticket in town, and they do a good job of keeping their players happy and keeping them busy and having fun and wanting to perform.
Yeah, Hershey's such a cool AHL team. I remember my sister and I used to go to games a lot growing up. We'd always make sure we knew which game they were giving out the free Hershey Park tickets to, and we go to that one, and then we'd probably go next day if they were open or at the end of the season or whatever. But
yeah, and it's one of the rinks that fills up the best too. Like it's a good crowd, and the fans are going to be there. So it was always exciting to play there.
Some of the best jerseys in pro hockey, I would say.
Oh,
I don't know how you feel about that, but those things are sweet.
Yeah, they had so many jersey sales where we were wearing all kinds of stuff. Looking back at some of the pictures, like Halloween night or New Year's Eve or whatever it was, we always had something going on.
We're a big uniform podcast. We love talking about who's got the best jerseys and stuff. What's I guess let's keep it to the NHL teams. Who do you think has the cleanest look that you've played for?
Well, I honestly love the Caps new ones with the third jersey, the one that you're wearing right there, just with the old logo. Because I came up with Washington with that.
Those are so good.
Eagle, and now that they've kind of put it on with the older colors, I like that one.
It's such a good one.
Nice.
It's so much better than anything the Penguins have ever come out with ever, is really what I'm hearing.
The Penguins jersey I wore during the Stadium Series was pretty cool. I don't know how to explain that one, but it's a pretty bright yellow.
Yeah,
that one was pretty cool. We played at Heinz Field. That was a nice jersey, I thought.
It's a nice segue. We might as well talk about your outdoor success. I knew that one was probably coming, but you played in a handful of outdoor games. Does one stand out as your favorite or anything like that?
My favorite has to be the first one, and in Heinz Field, obviously with Washington, and the reason being the HBO series. I mean, I think that was the first year they ever did the HBO, and there was just so much hype, and this was kind of in the absolute pinnacle of Ovechkin versus Crosby, and they kind of painted the picture during the HBO series that Washington wasn't very good and you wanted to be in Pittsburgh. And to be able to come out and win that game at Heinz Field in the rain, it was a pretty big win for Washington, the franchise, and to be a part of it, obviously score some goals in the game, and just the atmosphere was unbelievable.
That series was absolutely fantastic, and I know they tried to do it for the next couple years or so, and it just never felt like it was the same. And I kind of felt like, well, one, it was because you guys weren't in it, and then two, because Bruce wasn't in it, and Bruce just made the whole thing the first time.
Yeah, it was I don't know what it was. It was the first time they just absolutely nailed it, where it just seemed to be great that one team was really slumping, and you were getting in the locker room and you were hearing all that, and one team was doing really well, and you kind of had David versus Goliath, it felt like, by the end of it, where they didn't really give us much of a chance to beat Pittsburgh in the game. So I thought they did a great job with the series, and probably something I should go back and watch one of these days.
What was it like just having was the crew just in your face nonstop, just all up in your business while you're at the rink?
Yeah, they're kind of everywhere. Like every room you go to, there's just a mic, and it's just kind of hanging over top, and you're trying not to pay attention to them. And they do a good job sneaking around. And I still talk to some of those guys, that were around during the series. They were a great group of guys, and we trusted them. Obviously, we're just going about our everyday life, and they got some footage. They used what they wanted, and you have to have a lot of trust in those guys that they're going to make the right decisions.
Walk me through first NHL goal. If I'm looking at Hockey DB, right, that was in the 06-07 season. Let's hear the story about the first NHL goal. Those are always good ones.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It took me way longer than I wanted it to. Obviously, everybody wants to score in their first shift, their first game. I think it took me 11 games, if I'm correct. My first goal, I was playing with Alex Semin, and he didn't really like passing me the puck. I don't think he really liked passing anybody the puck. And he comes over the blue line on the left side, and he gets kind of to the top of the circle, and he's not looking to pass to anybody. And I'm pretty sure I lifted his stick and took the puck and shot it past Cam Ward. That was my first ever goal. I had to steal it from my own teammate.
Did he give
That's
you
an
shit
awesome
for
one.
it at all?
If he did, it was probably in Russian and I wouldn't have understood. I don't think he cared. He got an assist on it. I think everybody was happy all around.
Fair enough.
So obviously our listenership pretty Caps heavy, so they're licking their chops as we're talking about some of the old names. You know, Nick mentioned Greeny, you mentioned Semin. Just kind of walk us through like what those Caps teams were like from 09 to 2011, because they were stacked. You guys were very, very good. A couple President's trophies in there, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah, I talk to my brothers about it all the time, and like my buddies that were always watching us in the heyday. And the one thing they keep bringing up, it's like, oh, the Caps are down 4-1 with 4 minutes left. Like, don't turn away. Like, there's a good chance they're going to win this one. And that was kind of just I don't know what it was in the locker room. We never thought we were out of a game. It didn't matter what the score was, and it would just take a couple guys getting hot, and you just hear that siren going off. The boys just fed off each other, and it was a lot of offense, not as much defense as we probably could have used, but it was a lot of fun. When you're scoring goals, winning games, you're having a lot of fun, and those years were some of my favorite.
We got to ask about Ovi. First impressions, what do you think the first time you see this guy out there, the first time you played with him?
Yeah, I mean, you just watch him and the game just looks too easy. Like, I was used to scoring goals, obviously scored a lot of goals when I was younger into junior. And then you see this guy and it's like, he's just different. Like, just every shot he wants to put it through the goalie, through the net. Just determination. Just watching him every day was just a pleasure, just in practice. And it's something when I sit back and I watch these highlights, and obviously he's going for Gretzky's record, and you see all these goals, and when he hits 100, he hits 200, he hits 300, and they keep showing him. I'm like, yeah, I was on the bench for that one. I was on the bench for that one. I remember that one. And like to say that I was there watching all these goals and a part of a couple of them, it's pretty special.
Towards the end of your Caps tenure, I seem to remember you and Chimera and Ward playing a lot together, and the chemistry just being really unreal with that line. Is there anyone else, or would you say it's them that you kind of think back and have like, man, that chemistry was just better than like other guys I played with?
Yeah, I'd say that was probably when I was playing my best hockey, playing center between Wardo and Chimmer. We were called the green line because the third line in Washington always wore the green jerseys. And we were basically just a staple third line the entire season. They really didn't split us up. So that was a lot of fun. I remember basically just telling Chimmer, just skate down the wall. I would just flip it as high and as hard as I could, and he'd just go skate down the ice and get it. So it was a lot of fun with those guys. And then the other line that I remember, we weren't together very long, but it was an absolute pleasure for me because I grew up watching Sergei Fedorov. It was called F Street, and played with Fleischman, Fedorov, and Fehr.
Wow.
For the one season after we traded for Fedorov. And I remember telling Feds when he got there, I was a little embarrassed. I said, Feds, I grew up with your poster on my wall. My mom wasn't going to let me keep the poster. I got it for my birthday. It was him and a playmate that he had taken a picture with. And my mom's like, well, okay, she's dressed and it's Sergei Fedorov, so you can put it on the wall. But I did get in trouble for that one. So I made sure I told him about that one.
That's hilarious.
I mean, that has to be surreal, just like looking over and a guy that was on your wall and obviously one of the greatest and most skilled players of all time, and Fedorov is now on your line. And I remember when the Caps got him, it was just totally surreal, especially for someone that, grew up late 90s, early 2000s. If you had to pick one memory from DC that really just stands out above the rest, is there one that just jumps to mind?
I mean, it was probably the Winter Classics, the two of them. Obviously, I wish I would have won with Washington. They ended up winning after I left. But, those Winter Classic games were awesome. The playoffs were obviously intense. They didn't end the way we wanted, but we had some fun teams. And, the crowd in Washington is so underrated. It's truly an unbelievable crowd. They get loud, and as loud as any building. And for a city like DC, where you really wouldn't expect it, it's a pretty undercover crowd.
Before I ask some Pittsburgh questions, because I'm dying to ask those, you did have a little stint in Winnipeg in the season that they moved back to Winnipeg, if I'm not mistaken. What was that experience like?
Yeah, that was a tough season for me. I had just had shoulder surgery in Washington, and I got traded while my shoulder was still in the sling, and came back to Winnipeg. I grew up a Winnipeg Jets fan. I live in Winnipeg at the time. I wanted nothing more than to just be a Winnipeg Jet for the rest of my career at that point. It did not go well for me. I was pretty much injured the whole season, in and out of the lineup, and it was a real tough year for me. But to start the season, I got to wear the new jerseys and walk off the big jet, and kind of the coming out party for the Winnipeg Jets. So that's a memory. It's probably my best memory. Ended before the season even began. But the best memory I had in Winnipeg was being able to reveal those jerseys and, be there. I had 12 season tickets that first year in Winnipeg, and all my buddies, everybody wanted to go. And I just couldn't find, everybody couldn't find a ticket for the people that wanted to go. It was the hottest ticket in town, but, it was definitely a unique year for me.
Yeah, I'm sure the buzz in that city was pretty unreal during that time. So I am going to fast forward to Pittsburgh now. Obviously, you were there in the 2016 Cup win. That was a weird season. They had, I believe it was Mike Johnston at the helm, fired him, and then brought on Mike Sullivan, obviously, goes on to win the Cup, still the coach for the Pens. Just walk us through like what that season was like, because they bring Kessel in, they bring Johnston in, then they fire him. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it was weird because we had a really good team and we were underachieving big time. And obviously it was my first year in Pittsburgh, so I wasn't sure if this was kind of how it always was or if this was just a little bit different with Mike Johnson. So I really didn't know. I felt like I was starting to play some really good hockey. I actually started that season after an elbow surgery, so I was delayed about 15-ish games before the season, before I got going. So I missed the beginning. I thought we were starting to heat up a little bit, but we ended up firing Mike Johnson and going on to Sullivan. And from then on, I feel like we took off. I mean, Sid and Gino and Phil, they bought in right away, and you could tell that our team was completely different because when those superstars are firing on all cylinders, there's almost nobody that can stop them. So that you could tell it was going to be special. And I've said this to a lot of people before, and it's interesting. I don't know exactly what the number is, but there's a lot of teams that fire their coach halfway through the year, get a new coach, and go on to win. It's something about like you can get a new voice in the room, guys get a little bit extra motivation, and everyone just kind of gets serious. It almost feels like, and you could tell that year was going to end well for us.
I mean, I could ask 1,000 questions about Sid, but I want to ask one about probably what the one guy everybody wants to know about, Phil Kessel. What was he like as a teammate?
Everybody wants to know about Phil the Thrill. He's the man. I really enjoyed playing with that guy. I don't think he really likes all the attention he gets. So he's a little bit shy, to be honest. And the media kind of gets on him, but the guys really like him because he's a funny guy in the room. He has a good time. I got a little Phil Kessel story for you if you want to hear one.
I'm
So
dying.
the power play with the Penguins, they were heated sometimes. They would fight each other a little bit. So the one day, every guy kind of thought the power play went through them. Like, give it to me, or Gino, give me puck, I score a goal. So Phil Kessel's like, guys, I got the most power play points on the team. Like, get me the puck kind of thing. And the guy's like, okay, like we got to give this to Phil a little bit. We got to give him a hard time. And so I'm penalty killing, and Sid and Gino and the guys come to me like, hey, every time we pass it to Phil, I want you to jump him right away, like every single time. So they pass it to Phil, I'd jump him. They'd turn the puck over. They'd start yelling at Phil. They'd give it to Phil, I'd jump him, get the puck out. They'd start yelling at Phil. And everybody on the team knew what was going on except Phil. And he was banging his stick off the glass. He was getting so mad. And the power play just wasn't working for him, and he was smashing his stick, and he left the ice all ticked off. And the guys told him in the room after, he's like, I knew it. I wouldn't have turned over that many pucks. Like it was pretty funny.
Oh, that's incredible. God, that just made my whole day hearing that story. I mean, he had an unreal playoff run. me personally and a lot of other people, I actually thought he was going to win the Conn Smythe that year. I know they gave it to Sid, but Phil had an unreal postseason. What stands out in that postseason? Like, you had the whole Fleury and Murray switch over too. It was pretty crazy.
Well, Mr. Game One obviously stands out. You know, Jeff Zakoff ended up starting the playoff for us because we had 2 injured goalies. And then just to tell you a really quick story about the Conn Smythe thing. I can't remember if I've told this story before or not, but you'll like this one for sure. So we're sitting in the training room with Gino and Phil, and Phil goes to Gino, I'm going to win the Conn Smythe this year. And Gino bursts out laughing and says, Phil, are you kidding me? No chance. He's like, you win the Conn Smythe, I give you mine, he says. And so we're in the final game, and like, I'm pretty sure if Phil scores the goal in game 6, I think it was, to close it out, he had a back door, he just missed it. If he scores that goal, he wins the Conn Smythe. And then we're probably in an argument of whether Gino's actually going to give up his Conn Smythe or not. So, but Phil pretty much called his shot there. He was ready to have a playoff run, and he was all business. And that third line, was pretty effective for us.
I believe you scored in it was game 4 of that series to make it 3-1 and close that game out. What did that feel like? I mean, that had just be like a dream come true, right?
Yeah, that was probably my biggest goal ever. Obviously, the Stanley Cup Finals. It was to make it 3-1, I believe, to kind of clinch Game 4, and then tying in the watching Mario Lemieux growing up. If you watch the clip after I score, they show Lemieux in the press box, and it's just like surreal, like unbelievable. You know, I'm playing on the ice for the Penguins, and Lemieux's the owner of the team, and he's just pumped after we win. Like it's just like a dream come true, you know, like it's pretty cool.
Any celebration stories? I know it was in San Jose, maybe not like, I mean, I've never been, but you know, it's not like Vegas or the next year they win in Nashville, but what'd you guys do? Like, how'd you celebrate?
Well, the frustrating thing was we didn't win Game 5 at home, where the city was ready to absolutely explode. We played super well. The goalie Jonesy stole the game for San Jose. And then we go back into San Jose. It's like a long flight. We got 2 days between games with the time change. Like, those are the longest 2 days of your life. And then after winning, to be honest, San Jose is a pretty quiet town. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. There's really nothing going on. So we had a kind of a private banquet room there for our family and friends. And then we went back to Pittsburgh the next day and got a big party at Mario Lemieux's house, and jumped in the pool with the cup. And I have a picture at home, me, Matt Cullen, Patrick Hornquist, and Mario Lemieux in his pool. Lemieux's got all his clothes on, and we got some champagne. It's just the absolute sweetest picture ever. So some real good memories there for sure.
I got a more kind of general Pens Caps question for you. I'm always curious when guys, there's actually a lot of dudes that have played for the Caps and the Penguins, at least in my lifetime that I can think of. But I'm always kind of curious, like, what that initial feeling of like stepping over to the dark side is. Like, I mean, I know you guys are professionals. You kind of got to just like not think about it that way. But I guess, I don't know, is there any sort of like bad blood the next time you're in Washington playing them or that kind of thing?
I don't know. I think Ovi was kind of ticked off that I went to Pittsburgh. Like, he was taking some pretty good runs at me after I switched over to Pittsburgh. And I remember Wilson ran me from behind in the one playoff series. And like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, there's some bad blood on that rivalry. So you switch over, you're now the enemy. And you can talk to the guys after the series is over. But we were playing for keeps for sure.
I'll ask my last Pens fanboy question, then I'll calm down. So, the guys say you played with young Ovi, you played with prime Sid. I mean, that was the prime of his career. What is Sidney Crosby like as a teammate?
He's an awesome teammate. He's a really quiet guy in the room. He's not quite as loud as Ovi is. If there's a bad period, Ovi will start screaming and really get in the guy's face and everything. Sid doesn't really say much until he needs to. And then he says something and everybody listens, because he doesn't speak up very often and he doesn't get mad very often. So if he's ticked off or he says something, like, you better listen up. They both have opposite strategies for leading. They're both very effective in what they do. But at the end of the day, they both lead by example. They lead by bringing it every day. They bring the ultimate intensity in every game, and they're competitors. So, that's obviously what you want out of your leaders. And, Sid's one of the best in the world.
If you had to pick one of the coaches you played for in your time in the NHL, is there one that stands out that was just your favorite, or the best one you think you had?
I had a couple I really liked. I feel like I went through some really good coaches. I had Barry Trotz with Washington. He was great for me. Adam Oates obviously didn't have a ton of success with the team, but for me personally, he kind of changed my game and turned me into a defensive shutdown centerman, and really helped expand my career and keep me playing longer. So for me personally, he was great. And Sullivan is obviously a great coach. He's a very intense guy. He's very demanding, but I think he's pretty fair. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why he's stuck around in Pittsburgh. He's one of the guys that he's been around for a long time, and to be able to coach one team for that long, you have to be doing something right.
We'll let you go here soon, but at the beginning you mentioned that you're coaching some juniors now. You want to talk about kind of what you're up to these days?
Yeah, for sure. Coaching, doing some player development for a junior A team in Manitoba here called the Winkler Flyers. So we're trying to build a squad here to take a run at the championship. We got a pretty good team, and it's a lot of fun just practicing on the day-to-day, trying to make these guys better players, and trying to think back of some of the skill drills I was doing back in the day, and trying to bring the best out of these guys. I got two boys that play hockey, so I'm coaching a U9 team and a U7 team, which I'd almost rather be like coaching an NHL practice than these U7s and U9s, because I don't know how to like break everything down for these guys. I just want to do like NHL drills because those are the drills that we know. But so that's a lot of fun though. Watching your boys play, there's a lot of pride in that. Just a lot of excitement watching them, and that's a lot of fun. And I also have a company called Lactigo that I'm working with. So we have a performance gel that's a lot of the NHL teams are using right now. So kind of keeps me involved in sports. I get to talk to the trainers and the players that are using it, and all that stuff. So I feel like I'm still a part of it all. It's tough when you walk away and you're not playing anymore, but to have the rink here with the junior team, to have the kids, and then to obviously have the sports product where I'm still involved in the league, it's a lot of fun.
Last question I got for you is let's talk about your Spengler Cup experience. That had to be just something else, right?
Yeah, the Spengler Cup is really cool. I didn't really think of it a whole lot until I went over to Europe. Obviously, you can kind of watch it around Christmas time. But when I was over in Geneva playing in the Swiss League, and then you hear about the Spengler Cup, like there was nothing I wanted more than to play for this team. You go to Davos, Switzerland, which is beautiful. It's a ski town. You got your hotel. You walk across the street. You're on the ski slopes, and you're playing, representing your country. That was my first time really representing the country on the big stage. It was a lot of fun. It's great for family to come in. You spend Christmas with your family playing hockey, and there's really not much better than that.
All right, fellas, anything else before we let him go?
I think that's it, man. Thank you so much for hopping on. Absolutely one of my favorite Caps to watch growing up. So this has been awesome.
Oh,
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, guys. Thank you so much. It's always great to go back and think about the good old Caps days, the Pens days, and it feels like it's not that long ago, but it probably was. But still, two of my favorite teams to watch when they're on TV. I always like to watch the games, and obviously, I have love for both franchises.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Obviously, a massive thank you to Eric Fehr. You guys could probably tell that was a very high energy episode. Awesome guy to talk to. Some great stories and great experiences. Honestly, played on some really cool teams that I'm sure most guys in their career will never get the chance to. Mac, I mean, what'd you think of that?
Oh, we could have gone 2 hours with that guy. I just didn't want to, take up too much of his time. Busy guy, got a lot going on, as you heard about what he's up to in that interview. But yeah, huge thank you to him. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime, because I'm sure each of us could have asked him a dozen more things probably.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to the league news. But before we do, I think Mac has a word from Elwood's.
Yes, indeed, I do. Please remember to support your local dive bar and have a beer at Elwood's Liquor and Tap, home of the Pizza Luge. Located in the heart of downtown Milwaukee on Water Street, this 70s inspired bar has a little something for everyone. From daily happy hour rotating taps, free birthday perks, and a 4-season patio, a good time is always around the corner at Elwood's. With the full NHL package plus TV screens indoors and out, hockey fans can watch any game anytime. And last but not least, don't leave your dogs at home. They're a dog-friendly bar. We'll see you down at Elwood's Liquor and Tap.
So we're going to dive into the league news here, and I want to start this off with a text message that I got from fellow friend of the program, Joey Flynn. Joey, I appreciate you. Got a little gambling group chat, me and some other buddies who are always throwing out picks. His exact text to me the morning, I believe it was Thursday morning when the global series started, maybe Friday, whatever the first day was.
Right.
He texts me and he goes, Harry, why the fuck is there a 2 p.m. game today and an 8 a.m. game tomorrow? Where are these games? I would just like to start this segment by saying bravo to the NHL marketing team for literally not advertising this at all and then making it unwatchable for 80% of hockey fans by putting this on NHL Network. You did a wonderful job.
Yeah, it's just so bizarre to me. What is on TNT at 2 p.m. Eastern time that you can't throw the NHL on there?
Like, I don't know, like Reba or some shit. Like, like we're fine.
Literally, though, that's exactly what it is.
Like, we're fine. We don't need that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, so for those who aren't aware, the NHL just played a little series in Sweden over the past 4 days. Some weird start times. The Sunday game was Leafs Wild. I think the start time was 8 a.m. Everybody in the world wants to watch sports at 8 in the morning on a Sunday. That's awesome. Hockey fans especially, they're diehards. We want to see that. But you have to advertise it, and you have to make it accessible, and they did neither of those.
Literally, do you want to know how I found out about this? And this is someone whose life revolves around this sport, is the Score app literally said under that game, Global Series. And that's how I knew.
Yeah, it was like Avicii Arena, and I was like,
Right.
Oh, that sounds like Stockholm, like cool, I
Right.
guess. But yeah, stay hot NHL marketing. A little recap here. I know this is going to be a very heated discussion, so I might as well get it out of the way first. The Toronto Maple Leafs broke out blue helmets with their white uniforms. It was officially approved in the most recent GM meetings that as long as there were contrasting colors amongst the helmets, teams are able to mix and match at their own pleasure. I know there's going to be some thoughts here. It was started by the Carolina Hurricanes, and I know that's going to have a lot of ripple effect here. So, Nick, let's start with you.
This is the stupidest thing ever.
Ooh, here we go.
I don't know why. It's such a small detail and it really shouldn't matter. It drives me through the roof. and maybe it's just because the Hurricanes started it, and maybe it's because they haven't stopped doing it. Like, I don't know if you've watched a Canes road game, but they literally continue to wear red buckets on the road. I don't know. It really is not fun to watch for me.
Off the top of my head, there's not that many teams that wear red buckets, which is kind of weird. Flames,
Red
Canes,
Wings.
Red Wings.
Yeah.
There's not that many. You would think it'd be more.
Yeah, that is weird. I mean, I'm with Nick though. I just don't get like why is my biggest question. Like, yes, I understand that it got approved that you can do it, but it's like doesn't mean you should.
I would imagine there has to be like some like player coach agreement voting. Like, hey guys, you want to wear red today? Yeah, sure. They don't wear red. Let's do it. Like, I don't know.
Right.
So what, are you now just flying with like both sets of equipment?
I guess the guys determine that. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's a little strange. I'm assuming you guys weren't fans of the Leafs blue helmets.
I thought it was dumb. I thought it looked bad, but it also might just be because it is out of place. Like, I'm not used to looking at
like
it.
If they want to do it in the global series and have it be like that specific thing, sure. 4 games out of the year, I can live with that. But
yeah, it had a little bit of a Euro twist to it, I would say.
Yeah, but like if the Dallas Stars show up to like DC and are wearing like black and or green helmets, down the road, if they decide to do that, like it's just going to seem weird to me. I don't know.
It is definitely weird. I feel like blue and red, it works okay. I wasn't a huge fan of it.
I saw somebody comment on Instagram and say it looked like minor league, and I couldn't agree more. It's very just minor league vibes.
Yeah. I feel like when you're in the big leagues, that's kind of like a no-no. But regardless, we got the jersey talk out of the way. William Nylander, holy shit, fellas. This guy put on a show for his hometown country. I think I already had like 90 tickets. It was the first time his grandmother got to watch him live in the NHL, which is super cool. He knew he'd be buzzing, was hammering him on all the props, and he ended the trip with the OT winner against the Minnesota Wild on Sunday. Thoughts on Nylander right now? I mean, I think he's like third in the league in scoring. He might be the best team player on the Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
He's saying, "Pay me."
he looks unreal, and that's totally what it is. Yep.
I mean,
he is going to get
he
boatload
deserves
of money.
it right now. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't say that. I mean, do you
He's
think
making a case?
does anyone on the Maple Leafs have a better case for getting paid that kind of money than him? Because I think there's some guys on that team that are getting paid way more than what they're playing for right now.
So far, yeah.
I got the official stats up here. This will make you laugh. We have a three-way tie for first place in points. Hughes, Pedersen, and JT Miller. That's pretty insane. And then a three-way tie for second, Pastrnak, Nylander, and Kucherov.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. He also is just like, even when he's not on the score sheet, I've just liked his game a lot. I feel like he's always in the right place. He's making good passes out there. Just he looks like a 100 IQ hockey guy so far this season.
He was on that Swedish talk show in a white tank top, just absolutely shooting fish in a barrel, boys. I mean, oh my goodness.
Willie Styles, man. That's what he does. I want to ask a theoretical question. I would imagine he's probably going to end up leaving Toronto because they can't afford him. Where would you love to see Nylander go?
Detroit.
Washington.
Oof.
Where would I love to see
bring him
go?
home,
My
baby.
team. Yeah.
Come back to Team Maryland, buddy.
We've had a Nylander on the Capitals before. We know how to have one of those.
Right. You can even have his old number if you want, if we play our cards right.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good.
You're gonna hate this answer, but it's a common answer amongst people. It would be pretty sweet to see him and Bedard tear it up.
Ugh.
That would be cool. They already had Alex Nylander, so now they can have William too. As long as it's not the Rangers, the Hurricanes,
out of the Metro, unless it's on my own team, please.
Yeah, go west, young man. Haven't you been told?
Yeah, let's go play some big boy fuck you Western Conference hockey.
It would be cool if like the Kings could put something together to get him. That would be fun.
God, that would be very fun. I would love that.
This will never happen, but we do have his brother in Pittsburgh down in Wilkes-Barre. And we do have Kyle Dubas as the GM. So just saying, there's some history there. That would be pretty sweet. I wouldn't hate that. The Red Wings, they lose 2 heartbreakers. First game, they trailed 4-0 to the Senators, stormed all the way back to force OT. And then Tim Stützle probably scored what I would deem the goal of the year. That was pretty fucking
unreal.
Sick.
Also, though, all the memes online of being like, why did James Reimer duck? Like, it looks pretty funny when you watch the clip.
There is like one angle, and it's from like the camera that's like above the penalty box on the glass, where it literally looks like he kind of just like gets like blown over by the puck. It is so funny.
What also sucks is one of my buddies was texting me, and he's a huge Wings fan. He actually picked up James Reimer in fantasy for this. And it's such a killer when you lose with 2 seconds left in OT because it's still a goal against.
Yep.
Versus if you would have lost in shootout, you don't have to suffer those -2, at least in our league. But
I mean, what was more impressive though, that goal or that pass he made, like literally facing away from the net, sliding into the boards on his knees, and somehow finds Brady Tkachuk through the crease.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane.
That goal was so good. Full-blown baseball swing if you haven't seen it. It's on our Instagram. It was our highlight of the week. Go check it out if you haven't seen it.
Oh, I came off the couch for both of those. I was like I think I was doing notes and research for this. I was like, oh shit. Like that. I mean, this is 2 p.m. This is awesome.
Yeah. And then the Wings' second game, they led 2-0 after 2, and then they failed to get a point. They blew the lead. Red Wings, man, I don't know. I got some hate for this a couple weeks ago. I know our buddy TJ Kretz is going to be crying when he hears this. Sorry, TJ. But Wings right now, outside of the playoff picture after everybody was, praising them for the first couple weeks, basically in the same spot as Pittsburgh and Tampa right now. I don't know. So it's a weird start for the Wings.
To me, this is what happens. Like, okay, we're gonna group these three teams again because we've been doing it since the beginning of the season. But you talk about Detroit, you talk about Ottawa, you talk about Buffalo, how they're all kind of at the same point of the rebuild. But here's the thing: going into the season, you're trying to figure out which of these teams can take the next step. What it comes down to, and I think what we're seeing a lot with Detroit right now, is some of these young teams, yeah, they're good. Yeah, they have the talent to take the next step, but it's about being able to face the adversity throughout the season. It's about having the maturity, and a lot of these guys are young. And so I think they're just kind of going through it. I think this team is totally talented enough to make the playoffs. I just don't know if they will, because I don't know if they're going to be able to battle through some of this bullshit that they're going to have to face throughout the year.
I think that's a great way to put it. They're definitely going through growing pains right now. And this is just part of the cycle with a young team. Like you said, they're on the up and coming. They're trusting the Iser plan. They've got 19 points. They're not dead yet. They obviously have some flaws. I think number one, you got to get a legit goaltender in there, because I don't think this is the answer. I don't think they're expecting this to be the answer, but you got to do something different.
The Reimer Husso thing is not a great, like, okay, you fuck, okay, you shit. Like,
does anyone want to do it?
Yeah, it's not great so far.
It's just a weird like drop off. I mean, DeBrincat and Larkin were lighting the league on fire, and now neither of them are like top 10 in points. It's just a weird cold streak here.
Whether this team makes the playoffs this year or not, there is something small in the back of my head that's just telling me they're going to be the team, like that team that drafts a goalie in the next 3 years. And that guy's like, I'm not saying the next Vasi, but is an A1 starter stud.
I could definitely see that. Probably be a European guy too. Would make sense. So lastly, about the global series, Austin Matthews, he was asked about where he would like to see a global series in the future. He mentioned Mexico City. Obviously, he has some Mexican heritage. Dallas expressed a little bit of interest in that. I mean, where would you guys think a cool location would be for a global series?
Mexico City would be insane. If they can find a way to do that, I am all in on that. I loved what they did in the preseason in Australia. I thought the crowd was crazy for that. And honestly, with how much hockey has grown in the UK, I think doing one over there would be insane as well.
I totally agree with that. The only thing else I would add, I mean, obviously it's not as much about growing the game, but like we saw how good it was in Sweden. And obviously we know Sweden like is a diehard like hockey country because of the Olympics and everything. But like going off that same line, you could take it to Czech Republic, or you could take it to Finland or something like that. And I think it'd be really cool too.
Absolutely.
But from a grow the game standpoint, I really like the Mexico City and the UK idea. Those are awesome.
Pick the NHL to Cancun, see what happens. Next up, a little bit of not so great news here. Milan Lucic of the Boston Bruins will be taking an indefinite leave of absence following an arrest regarding an alleged domestic dispute. Obviously, some not great news. Obviously, more details will probably come out about that. But for right now, Lucic will be taking a leave of absence from the Bruins.
Yeah, not good. Read up on it. Do that as you will. I'm sure it's all on Twitter. It's all on Instagram. You guys know where to go for that. Just want to say thoughts and prayers, best wishes to him and the family.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. Latest Oilers news. Obviously, the Oilers have been the most talked about team on this podcast thus far, I would say. Since we last spoke, they got the new coach. Now, Calvin Pickard will start in net for the Oilers the night that we are recording this, so we don't know what the outcome is going to be. Pickard's last appearance in the NHL came when he stepped on in relief for the Wings against the Penguins in March of 2022. His last start was in January 2022, where he made 38 saves, allowed 2 goals, and a win against Pittsburgh. I believe they're playing the Panthers tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, and he so far has allowed 3 goals on 18 shots. It's tied 3-3, so not great.
Oof.
3, dude, every Oilers game. God.
I mean, listen, like what did they think was going to happen? This guy hasn't played. I think you want to know. I think I know exactly what happened. They saw what the Rangers did with Louis Domingue, and they were like, oh, okay, we can go get a guy who hasn't played in the NHL in 2 years as well, and he's going to be awesome, right? No, because your team isn't as good as the New York Rangers right now. So, and also Calvin Pickard, like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. It was over 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah. Dude, the Oilers have one more point in the standings than the Blackhawks. Like, does that
It's
just
so
not
weird.
say it all right there?
And we're
so
seeing them
weird.
live in like 5 days.
Can't wait.
It's so weird. So since they fired the coach, they beat the Islanders and the Kraken at home, and then they lost 6-4 against the Lightning. Now they're playing the Panthers. It's 3-3 midway through the second. Like, guys, what are we doing here? Every game's 5-6.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's over,
Just,
City.
it's just a band-aid on the problem right now. They're trying to like see how long they can make this work.
You know, like those you guys ever seen those Flex Seal commercials where the guy's got like the giant like vat of water that's leaking, and then he like slaps like the flex tape on it and it stops leaking?
Yep.
Yeah, this is just like, it's like putting a band-aid on that. It's still just gushing out.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's like me with my car problems. I get something fixed like once a month, and then I'm like, this isn't. It's like I leave the mechanic, and I'm like, okay, see you next week.
Yeah.
Now, you know, someone on this podcast has to have car problems all the time.
Right.
That's true.
It wouldn't
It's a
be
rite of
empty
passage.
betters.
Harry, you're up next. Once I get a new car, watch out, buddy.
Dude,
You're
The
up next.
difference is Macs are like incidental. Mine was 1000% self-inflicted. So I have no one to blame other than myself.
Fair enough.
No, I get that. Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna do some McDavid talk here. I mean, he just hasn't seen himself yet, but he has 2 goals in this game on 3 shots. So I guess I'll save that for later. That would make sense. That'll do it for the news. We're going to move on to the discussion portion of the episode. But before we do, I think Nick has a word from Kane Footwear.
Absolutely. I think those Oilers guys could use some Kane footwear right now. Kane Revive, made from bounce back foam with sugarcane technology. It's a renewable resource, so it's good for the environment while being good for you. We've seen a ton of NFL guys use this in the last calendar year. It's been great to be a part of the Kane Footwear team. So head to the link in our bio to get a pair of the most comfortable shoes you will ever own.
Absolutely. I know they got a Black Friday deal going on. It's a buy one, get one, 25% off, I believe.
Yep.
I think all the colorways are restocked.
Good
Go
deal. Get yourself a new pair and get a pair for somebody for Christmas.
Yeah. Links in the social media bios, as Nick mentioned. Let's move on to the discussion portion. Per NHL discussion, the NHL and NHLPA are close to an agreement on a 4-team international tournament in February of 2025 between the US, Canada, Sweden, and Finland. Russia would be excluded in that list, which has erupted a little bit of controversy. The games would likely be played in Europe. It would be NHL players only, with IIHF not being involved. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Just do the Olympics.
It's like, why do it? Like, why half-ass this shit in a weird way? Why is there 4 teams playing? It's so fucking weird.
I would rather them just do an NHL All-Star tournament in this format in like Detroit.
Yeah, no, that'd be cooler for sure. I mean, I say what you will about the Russia thing. I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it, but I understand. I saw it coming. At least I get why they chose to not have them. And again, I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's like, yeah, okay, I saw that coming. But why just the other 4? Like, we're acting like there's 5 countries. Like,
what are the Czechs thinking?
No, exactly. That's my exact point here. I'm like, fuck me, I guess. Like, I just can't. I just don't matter. I just can't go to this.
Or the Germans or the Swiss.
The Slovaks too. They're like, what the hell? We're like a legit hockey powerhouse.
Even teams like Latvia have taken like huge steps forward in recent like Olympic games. It makes no fucking sense the way they're doing this. And I mean, maybe it's just something with the NHLPA that they were like, this is the only way we'll do it. I don't know, obviously, what happened behind scenes to come to this result, but will I watch every single one of these games? Yes.
Right.
Do I wish they would have done this a completely different way? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Is this a World Cup of hockey? Like, what is this?
They said it won't be called that. Yeah. So I don't know what the fuck they're going to call
losers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My other thing with this is, like, if you don't have the IIHF involved, that really hampers the European countries from doing well, because guys, I mean, like Sweden, Finland, like some of those guys that are playing in the SHL, or I think Liga is the one in Finland, those guys would make the Olympic team. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
a total roster of NHL players. So, and same with the Czechs and the Slovaks too. So you're really kind of like tying one hand behind their back. It's just, it doesn't seem like it's going
My
to be a
theory
recipe
here,
for success.
I think this reeks of like Bettman and like the other like NHL execs who are behind this just being like, how can we make the most money possible off of
Yup.
Canada and USA playing each other?
Yup.
Exactly.
And they're literally just trying to like set that up. Because one of the tweets that I saw about how like the like bracket would work or whatever said that it's possible that the US and Canada would play each other in this as many as like three games, like 3 separate times or whatever, depending on how it all shook out. And it's like, I'm sure that's not a fucking accident. And I'm
if
sure
if that's the case and that's what they want, that's fine. But do what the women's hockey side does. Do a US Canada rivalry series where you play like 3 or 4 games across, between Toronto and LA or Chicago or whatever. And just do that.
Just cut to the chase and don't fucking like pretend it's something else.
I'd much rather watch the hell out of that than this.
I agree. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 4 of the top 20 scores in the NHL right now would not be playing in this series.
Yeah.
Panarin, Kucherov, Draisaitl, and Stützle. None of those guys would be in. I mean, and Matt, I'm not going to go into the political side of this with the Russia thing. I'm with Mac. Like, probably saw that coming. This is tainted if you don't have them because, like, you could argue Russia would win. I mean,
it's like
yeah, what are you going to call
2018
yourself
Olympics.
a champion of this shit? And you're like, yeah, I won this
stupid.
cool medal, but it's got a gigantic asterisk next to it because no one played in it. Like,
what was Harry? What was it? The 2018 Olympics where it was like we had like college kids, and then the Russians come out with Kovalchuk. Like it's like this is going to be Mickey Mouse for sure.
It's a Mickey Mouse thing, and I echo Mac so hard right now. This is a money stunt to get US Canada, get all the views. The NHL's desperate. I will watch it. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna boycott. Like, yeah, I'm gonna watch every fucking ounce of this, but it just sucks. I would love to see, again, politics aside, I would love to see the Russians go against like Canada, like Kucherov, Malkin, Ovi, Kaprizov, Panarin. And then you've got arguably the 2 best goalies in the world, Shesterkin, Vat. Like, there's so many guys missing here.
And I think they also said that the next chance we would have at getting like a traditional World Cup of hockey isn't until 28. So
lovely.
Great.
Stay hot, NHL.
Yeah.
That could be your global series, but
right.
I don't know. Anyways, we'll move on from that. Let's talk a couple big injuries here around the league. The biggest news, Tage Thompson. He's out for the Sabres with a wrist injury after blocking a shot from McAvoy. I'm not sure if the timeline's been updated. I heard he was going to be out a little bit longer term when this happened. Maybe that's changed since I heard. I was kind of MIA all weekend. What do you guys think about this impact of the Sabres?
It doesn't seem like it's going to be as bad as initially thought. I know people were saying month to month. They were going to say significant time, which everyone has a different definition of what that is. It seems like it's, for the most part, everyone is saying week to week. So hopefully he gets back soon, because the Sabres, I think this is a guy you really can't live without or have success without.
And again, they're not really in a great position in the standings to like have any time to like fuck around with here. I think they're 8-9-1, 6th place in their division as of right this second. So yeah, you don't want to waste a lot of time without your superstar. That's for sure around this time of year.
Jack Hughes, he is back in the lovely city of Newark, New Jersey. He had a goal and an assist in his return in the club's 5-3 loss to the New York Rangers on Saturday night. Completely unrelated to the injury. Did you guys see the highlights of when the Rangers scored and the entire arena was blue, standing up and cheering? It was nuts.
I mean, when your fan base, your fan bases exist on top of each other, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah, but if you're a Devils fan, like, dude, your team's good. Go to the game.
Right.
Like, go to the game. Don't let them do that.
They could start doing the Carolina Hurricanes thing where they're only going to sell tickets to Hurricanes fans or whatever that is.
Oh my God, that was
sad. And the Canes only show up in the playoffs anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Hughes looked unreal in his return. He's obviously the heartbeat of that team. I would say, honestly, he's still pretty close in the point scoring race. And if the Devils can do their thing, right now might be the best value you could get on him to win MVP this year. So I wouldn't hate if people sprinkled on that.
I think he can still do it.
Yeah, I think it's in the cards. And then the Florida Panthers, they get two of their solidified D-men back from last year's big cup run, Brandon Montour and Aaron Ekblad. That's huge for the Panthers. They've survived so far.
This is big. And
they're ready.
Openly shat all over this team in the preseason. We said they were going to be trash. Don't look now. They're second in their division. And that was hot. Without these guys.
Yeah, they're hot.
I will say, of course, right when they get those two guys back, Barkov got hurt. And
right.
It's not playing today, but I don't know if that's like a serious thing or not yet.
They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. They're humming, and they're taking on the Oilers toe-to-toe right now in a shootout. So that'll not an actual shootout, but a 3-3 game. Let's chat CBJ, the Blue Jackets, losers of 9 straight. Patrick Laine, healthy scratch in their 5-2 loss to the Flyers on Sunday. Guys, what are we doing here?
It's always fun when you get to play against a hockey team twice in a span of, a week and a half or so, and you win both games, and both of those games, even though it's a week and a half apart or whatever, contribute to the same losing streak for that team.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Laine did not see ice time in the first or the second game too.
Yeah, that's
definitely in the third at least.
That's concerning with what's going on there. And I don't really know what to say about it, but it's not good.
So roughly 8.5 cap hit, halfway through a 4-year deal. It really has not worked out since leaving Winnipeg.
I don't know what to say about this, because honestly, Laine is I'm not gonna say he's one of my favorite players, but I've always kind of liked him, and I mean he's a sniper. The guy's an unbelievably talented player. I just don't know what it's one of those head scratchers where you're just like, what do we do with this guy? Where do we send him so that he'll be good? What kind of coaching does he need? What kind of environment does he need? Because clearly it's not whatever he's in right now is not the best for him, it seems.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I know this team, obviously did not have the best start to the preseason with, the whole Mike Babcock situation, and then having to, get a new head coach in there sort of, at the 11th hour. And you would obviously expect that some of their struggles are down to that, but just seems like the whole team together is just not figuring it out.
No, and they're not a great team on paper. And like you just said, Nick, the whole training camp preseason got shot. Babcock goes out. Pascal Vincent goes in. It hasn't worked so far. Their goaltending sucks. They can't score goals. And they're a hard team to bet because they let in a lot of goals, but they don't score a lot of goals. So it's like, do you bet the over? Do you not? I don't know. Sometimes, maybe. It's a tricky one. I feel bad for the fans of Columbus. I feel like they deserve better than this. The Blue Jackets had something there for a little bit.
Sure.
They had that fuck
with
you.
Tortorella.
It was fuck you Western, but in the East hockey. And it was awesome. They had Hartnell and Foligno and Boone Jenner and these Dubinsky, these big bruiser guys, and you play them in the playoffs. You're like, Jesus Christ, hope we just get out of this round. And it's come to this. And it's kind of sad to see.
Yeah. And for a while, everyone was saying that it was the next big free agency destination. Guys that had played there for a while or had just moved there were saying this is an amazing city, amazing sports town. We love playing here. And it just seems like no one really wants to be there right now. But, I don't know what's going on with Johnny. I don't know what's going on with Patty.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah.
We got to talk about it.
I mean,
it's bad.
I'm not saying they need to panic. And obviously those guys are, going to be a challenge to move, even if that's the route you wanted to go. But oh my God, it is not working.
Nobody's taking that Johnny contract with the way things are going. 2 goals, 5 assists through 19 games. And he's getting paid a lot of money. I mean, that's bad.
That's
really bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't. I want to quote Heat Daddy. What is the future?
Right.
What? I feel like we're in this continuous, the Blue Jackets, they're on the up and up. It's going to be a good, and it's dude, Tortorella left and they died.
Yeah.
Who finishes the rebuild first?
The Flyers look good.
Yeah.
They do.
The Flyers look good.
Yeah.
And I got hate on Twitter the other day for saying this. I tweeted out, I said the Flyers are scary. Like they scare me a little bit. They're one of those teams that have sandpaper. They've got the coach. Will it last for an extended period of time? Probably not. But for this year, they could make playoffs.
I'm starting to think that John Tortorella could coach like a beer league hockey team into the NHL playoffs. Like literally. Like I mean, you look at the Flyers roster and you're like, who are you people?
Yeah.
Most of them you're like, before this year, I don't know who you are. But
I was at the game Saturday and they were reading they started the fourth line in the game. They were reading the opening lineup. So I was like, I run a hockey podcast. I don't know who this guy is. So there's no way anyone in fucking here knows what's going on.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So yeah, that was pretty funny. And then lastly, we'll get you out of here quick. But before we do, we got to talk some Washington Capitals. The boys are buzzing right now. I know a lot of you listening want to hear about it. So Nick, Mac, the floor is yours.
It's been good. It's been a good couple of weeks for the boys. 8-2 in their last 10. They took down the best team in the NHL. They beat Vegas. That was awesome. Chucky Mustache, probably the best game we've seen him play. Mac, I don't know if you agree there, but first shutout as a Cap. Just could not be happier for that guy because he is playing out of his mind right now.
He's fired up too. That locker room video post game.
Oh yeah,
holy shit! I was like, all right, you can be a starting goalie.
Great to see them. Pull out a gutsy win against the Jackets on Hockey Fights Cancer Night. We know that's a personal cause for a lot of the people in the organization as well as in that locker room. So that was great to see. I thought what Spencer Carberry said afterwards in the locker room was fantastic.
Yep. Let's
talk about this third line right now. Milano, Protas, LaPierre.
Yeah. I mean,
I like it.
Yeah. LaPierre definitely, I think, didn't Carberry say he single-handedly got us the 2 points in that game in the poster? I think he said something like that. But it's good to see the youth being good. I love how fired up LaPierre was after that goal too.
Yeah.
Protas is finally starting to like have
shoot the puck
too. Yeah. Holy shit, that was a rip, by the way. But also I've seen on Twitter that he's been like working on physicality, like after practice and stuff with some of the coaches. He's been like doing like hitting drills, like he's
That's
a fucking
awesome.
peewee learning how to hit or something like that. But
good,
we need it because he's so big and he doesn't use it.
Yeah, we've got a decently big team. Anthony Mantha's a big guy. I would like to see him, when healthy, throw
that's
it around
always
a
been
little
the
bit
Caps
more.
thing. They're like, oh, you're 6'6" and you don't know how to play hockey, you're signed. Like that's the Caps for you. But no, it's been pleasantly surprising the last 10 games. I hope we keep it up, especially for my sake. Going to a couple games this week, I'd love to see some wins.
Absolutely. So currently sitting third in the Metro, but they do have 3 games in hand over the Flyers, and they're only 1 point behind them. So I would expect them to jump at some point this week.
Yeah, if we can beat Buffalo and the Oilers, both of who are struggling with their own bullshit right now, that'd be ideal.
This is the strangest phenomenon in the league. I don't understand how this is happening. It makes no sense.
What are you talking about?
Do you know that the Washington Capitals in the year 2023, where it's all offense, power play, high-end skill, the Caps have a dead last power play of 7%.
Yeah, I did.
And they are still winning games.
Dude,
that is crazy.
It's an illusion. That's the decoy. That's how we get them. They're not expecting it.
Is weird. It's very weird.
I mean, what the fuck? Like, that's so strange to me. And while we're on the topic, second to last in goals for per game. The only team below them is the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah.
You guys don't score.
No.
How's that? How do you win?
Chucky Mustache.
Chucky Mustache. There
Chucky
you go.
Lindgren is the MVP.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is funny, especially because that team's MO for all of the last 20 years has been like a 28% power play and outscoring everyone 5-3.
Yeah, no, it's not something I'm familiar with. I guess the coaching is probably
weird.
Part of it, but it's foreign for sure.
It's so weird. And before we wrap up here, I just have to read this because friend of the program, Mark Cordoraro, just texted me. Said, if you don't talk about the Rangers, you're dead to me. He said, I've never seen a power play like ours. We don't have Adam Fox. We score every night. We've won 9 of the last 10. we need a shout out. So I'll give you guys a shout out. The Rangers are absolutely buzzing. So
They have been very good this year.
and Mr. Ian Powderly, I'm not trading Eric Gustafson, so stop asking me to trade him.
Oh my God.
That's
been money.
That's a good game by the way tonight. That the night we're recording it, the Rangers and the Stars. That was one circled on my calendar for sure to be a good hockey game.
Yes, and the over-under was set at 5.5. You could have bet that game and known everything going into it like I did if you had downloaded Prop Tracker. Prop Tracker is your home for player prop research and finding outlier bets for NHL, NBA, NFL, and more. Once you find a bet you like, start tracking it to get notified on its progress like shots, rebounds, or receptions. Go to proptracker.com/emptybetters to try a free month of the Android or iOS app. Want to remind you guys, when you spell the word tracker, there is no E in the word tracker. It's TRACKR. proptracker.com/emptybetters. If you did have Prop Tracker, just read you guys a couple stats here and we'll get out. Best teams to bet the over on so far this year. Canucks are number one, not a surprise. It's hit 14 of their 18 games over 6.5. Jersey comes in at second. It's hit 12 times out of their 16 games. Then there's a big tie for third. You got Tampa, Columbus, Minnesota, Detroit, Ottawa. All those teams have been phenomenal on the over so far this year. If you get the app, you can see how often it hits when they're at home, when they're on the road. You can get team totals, team against totals. The app is beautiful. Go download it. Why is everyone laughing at me?
It's the most stupid thing. Mac just posted in the notes that he's got like his trivia question. He said, I got a good one. It's highlighted. He was just making the font bigger.
I had the ad read up, so I wasn't looking. All right, I'll shut up. I'm going to let Mac do his trivia.
All right, this is actually a really good one, and we're deviating from our usual this day in hockey history because they screwed me last week. I'm still mad about that. They had something on there that wasn't right. I started reading the question. We went through it. I figured out halfway through what they had on there was just straight up false. And
we still don't know if Mike Knuble was on that team or not. It's a mystery. No one knows.
Yeah, that's one of the world's greatest mysteries. All right, so I've got my own trivia question this week that I think is a good one. It's a quick two-parter. All right, so number one, can you tell me how many NHL goalies have played at least one NHL game this season that catch with their right hand? First question, just can you tell me how many of them there are? And then once we have that number settled, you're going to have to try and tell me all of them, the names.
God, Nick, get your editing skills ready.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, it's not very common for goalies to do this. Like,
most,
hockey players being
on the right hand, catcher on the left, but we're talking about the opposite here.
So I know what prompted this. Louis Domingue started for the Rangers, and he's a right-hander, so that's one.
Yes.
I don't know yet. I know. I'm trying.
Doesn't Chucky Mustache catch backwards?
He does. That's two. Yeah. Do you want me to just tell you how many there are?
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
There's 5 of them.
Okay.
We got 2 of 5.
By the way, is that less or more than you expected?
I was going to guess 4.
I was going to guess like 3 or 4.
Okay. All right. Well, there's 5. You've got 2 of them.
So the second part is naming them?
Yeah, you got to name the other 3 now.
Okay.
Why do I think this? Does Alex Nedeljkovic?
He does not.
Okay. Well, by the way, shout out him. He had a great game the other day. Shutout and scored his second career AHL goal.
Joel Hofer.
Nope.
Ooh.
Okay.
Are these all backups mostly?
One of them is the starter, technically. The other 2 are backups for now.
Like notable backups or like Louis Domingue backup?
One of them is sort of on the Domingue vibe of like, I'm not sure if he's on the, actually, no, I'm pretty sure he's back in the AHL now, but I would say a lot of people might be surprised about that because he makes NHL money, and he last year and the last 2 years or so, he was on an NHL roster. The other guy is like definitely the backup. Sometimes he's even like the main one.
Varlamov?
No.
It's not our Lord and Savior Big Save Dave, is it?
No. So here's
Okay.
another hint. I'll try to speed this along a little bit. So we've got 3 left. One of them, this is going to throw you off, so be careful, is in the Metro, but that's the one who's back in the AHL as far as I know right now. But he played 1 or 2 games so far this year for his NHL team. And this is not the NHL team that he was on previously as like a semi-regular tender in the league, making NHL money. The other 2 are both Western Conference. And they're both actually no. Yeah, they're both Western Conference. I'll tell you that.
This guy in the Metro has to be a Devils guy, I feel like. No? I'm trying
No,
to think of the teams.
not Devs.
Jonathan Quick.
Nah.
Okay.
No, he's still playing. Is he Philly?
Yep.
So they went through Hart. The one guy who's atrocious, whose name I don't even know, so it's definitely not him because I wouldn't known it.
They've got. I think you're talking about Samuel Erson.
Yep.
He's like the guy who's
guy.
there right now.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is why I'm pretty
yes.
sure this other guy's back in the A.
And he's a known name, and he didn't play there last year.
He didn't play there last year. He played for a Western Conference team the last like 2 years, and I'm pretty sure he has like an NHL contract for like at least another year, which is why I'm saying I think some teams are kind of surprised he's in the AHL right now, but he just has not been good.
Nick, do you know?
I don't. I'm like running through like Western Conference team goalies, which
He's
Philly.
I think he's definitely the hardest one to get out of the 3 that you have left here.
okay.
The Philly guy?
Yeah. I could,
I
if
don't know.
it'll help, I can tell you what team he played for previously.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that.
LA Kings.
Oh. I'm struggling with this. Last year, who they have? Why am I struggling with this? We know this, Nick.
Yeah. CP.
Yep.
Cal Peterson.
Yep.
There it is.
There you go.
Okay. Cal Peterson catches backwards, and then the last 2 are Western.
Last 2 are Western. One of them we talk about on the show, like actually all the time. And I love this guy.
Oh, Vamelka.
Yeah. Ding, ding,
Carl.
ding, ding, ding. Let's go. Yes.
Let's go. And then who's the last one?
The last one. Yeah. This is one that a lot of people kind of forget that I think people forget he exists, but people definitely forget he catches righty. But he's on he's on like one of the most important teams in the league. As far as like relevance right now and like being good.
So relevance for being good, not relevance for being bad.
No, the team is like extremely relevant for being good the last couple of years.
Is he a Vegas guy?
Yes, sir.
It's got to be Hill Thompson or Laner. I don't even know. I'm going to go Thompson.
Yep. It's Logan
Nice.
Thompson. Yep.
All
So
right.
there's 5 of them in the league. It's Vamelka, Domingue, Cal Peterson, Chucky Lindgren, and Logan Thompson.
Nice. That was a good one.
That was a good question. Yeah. I don't think Nick will have to edit that one too much. That's good.
No,
Not
yeah.
too bad. We kept it
gonna leave
along. I
that
gave you
one.
some hints. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that was a good trivia question. It was a good episode, and it was an even better interview. I want to thank Eric Fehr again for joining us. If you guys don't have any final notes, we'll get out of here. Anything left, fellas?
Oh, by the way, I said the stupidest thing of my life on the podcast last week when I said that Dale Hunter's number wasn't retired by the Washington Capitals because it 1,000%
That's what I
is.
thought. I was thinking.
I
that
was
too.
thinking Hall of Famers.
Okay, word.
Yeah.
Word. Nice. Glad we cleared the air with that.
Yeah.
Way to correct the mistake. We love
All right,
that.
I got nothing else.
All right, we're out of here. We'll see you all Friday at the Caps game. If you're in town, have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourself. Relax a little bit. We'll be back at you next week after the holiday. And without further ado,
Turkeys dismissed.